Donald Trump's presidency has been one of constant controversy, marked by a series of polarizing decisions and statements that have left an indelible mark on the American political landscape. His policies and rhetoric have often ignited strong reactions from both supporters and detractors, creating a highly charged and often volatile political environment. From immigration bans to trade wars, Trump's decisions have consistently sparked debate and division within the United States. His administration's approach to building a border wall and imposing tariffs on foreign goods has been particularly contentious. His critics argue that these policies are often driven by prejudice and a disregard for democratic norms. They claim that his actions have undermined the principles of equality and justice that are foundational to American democracy. They point to his rhetoric, which frequently demonizes opponents and fuels social unrest. This has led to numerous instances of public discord and clashes between different groups within society. Trump's supporters, however, view him as a strong leader who is not afraid to challenge the status quo. They believe that his bold approach is necessary to bring about significant change and address long-standing issues. They believe his policies are necessary to address issues such as illegal immigration and unfair trade practices. For them, Trump's actions represent a commitment to protecting American jobs and national security. They applaud his willingness to confront China and other countries they see as economic rivals. This stance is seen as a defense of American economic interests in an increasingly competitive global market. The stark contrast in these viewpoints underscores the deep divisions that exist within American society, divisions that Trump's presidency has only exacerbated. These divisions are evident in the frequent and often heated public debates and protests. Trump's approach to governance often appears to prioritize his own political interests and those of his base over the broader needs of the nation. This has led to a governance style that many see as self-serving and divisive. This has led to accusations of authoritarianism and a disregard for the rule of law. Critics argue that his actions have eroded the checks and balances that are essential to a functioning democracy. His critics point to his attacks on the media, his attempts to undermine the judiciary, and his efforts to cast doubt on the legitimacy of elections as evidence of his authoritarian tendencies. These actions have raised serious concerns about the future of American democracy. They argue that his actions are weakening democratic institutions and norms, leaving the country vulnerable to further division and instability. The long-term impact of these actions remains a topic of intense debate. Whether one views him as a bold leader or a dangerous demagogue, there is no denying that Trump's presidency has been a tumultuous period in American history. His tenure has been marked by significant upheaval and controversy. His policies and actions will continue to be debated and analyzed for years to come. The legacy of his presidency is likely to influence American politics for generations. The long-term consequences of his presidency, particularly its impact on American democracy and social cohesion, remain to be seen. As the nation moves forward, the divisions and debates sparked by Trump's time in office will undoubtedly shape its future. Trump's critics argue that his policies represent a systematic effort to roll back decades of progress in expanding civil rights and liberties. They believe that the administration's actions are not isolated incidents but part of a broader agenda to undermine the advancements made in social justice and equality over the years. They point to his administration's policies on immigration, LGBTQ+ rights, and reproductive rights as evidence of this rollback. These policies have been seen as direct attacks on the rights of vulnerable communities, reversing the hard-won gains of previous generations. The Muslim travel ban, the separation of families at the border, and the ban on transgender individuals serving in the military are just a few examples of policies that have been widely condemned as discriminatory and harmful. These actions have sparked widespread protests and legal battles, highlighting the deep divisions within the country. These policies, critics argue, are not only morally wrong, but also legally dubious. They contend that such measures violate the fundamental principles of justice and equality enshrined in the Constitution. They point to the numerous legal challenges that have been filed against these policies, many of which have been successful in blocking their implementation. These legal victories are seen as crucial in protecting the rights of those affected by the administration's actions. The courts have repeatedly found that the Trump administration has overstepped its authority and violated the Constitution in its pursuit of these policies. These rulings underscore the importance of an independent judiciary in upholding the rule of law. This suggests that these policies are not simply a matter of political disagreement, but represent a fundamental threat to the rule of law. The erosion of legal norms and protections poses a danger to the democratic foundations of the nation. The Trump administration's attacks on reproductive rights have also sparked outrage and fear among many Americans. Efforts to restrict access to abortion and defund organizations like Planned Parenthood have been met with fierce resistance from advocates of women's health and autonomy. The appointment of conservative judges to the Supreme Court, coupled with efforts to defund Planned Parenthood and restrict access to abortion, have raised concerns that Roe v. Wade, the landmark case that legalized abortion nationwide, could be overturned. Such a reversal would have profound implications for reproductive rights in the United States. This would have a devastating impact on women's health and reproductive freedom, particularly for low-income women and women of color. The loss of access to safe and legal abortion services would disproportionately affect those who are already marginalized and face significant barriers to healthcare. The rollback of civil rights and liberties under the Trump administration represents a significant threat to the fabric of American society. These actions have not only undermined the progress made in recent decades but have also sown division and discord among the populace. These policies have created a climate of fear and uncertainty for marginalized communities who are increasingly vulnerable to discrimination and violence. The sense of insecurity and instability has had a chilling effect on the lives of many individuals and families. The erosion of these fundamental rights undermines the very principles of equality and justice upon which the United States was founded. It is a call to action for all who believe in the promise of a fair and just society to stand up and defend these essential freedoms. Trump's presidency has been marked by a consistent and deliberate effort to undermine diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives across various sectors of American society. His administration has actively worked to dismantle programs aimed at promoting equal opportunity and addressing systemic racism and discrimination. This is manifested in a range of actions, from the elimination of diversity training programs in federal agencies to the rollback of affirmative action policies in education and employment. Trump's rhetoric on issues of race and identity has further inflamed tensions and exacerbated existing divisions. His comments on Charlottesville, where he equated neo-Nazis with counter-protesters, and his attacks on black athletes and lawmakers have been widely condemned as racist and divisive. This rhetoric has emboldened white supremacist groups and contributed to a rise in hate crimes across the country. Trump's attacks on DEI initiatives represent a rejection of the fundamental American ideal of equality. By dismantling programs designed to level the playing field and address historical injustices, his administration is perpetuating systemic racism and discrimination. This not only harms marginalized communities but also undermines the social and economic progress of the entire nation. The dismantling of DEI initiatives is part of a broader assault on multiculturalism and the idea of a pluralistic society. Trump's vision of America appears to be one that is homogeneous and rooted in a narrow interpretation of American identity. This vision is at odds with the reality of a diverse and ever-evolving nation. The consequences of this assault on DEI are far-reaching and will continue to be felt for generations to come. One of the most contentious aspects of Trump's presidency has been his stance on birthright citizenship, a fundamental principle enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. This amendment, ratified in 1868, was a pivotal moment in American history, aiming to provide equal protection under the law to all citizens. This principle guarantees citizenship to anyone born on American soil, a right that has been a cornerstone of American democracy for over a century, regardless of their parents' immigration status. This inclusive approach has helped shape the diverse fabric of American society. Trump has repeatedly expressed his opposition to birthright citizenship, a stance that has sparked significant debate and controversy, calling it frankly ridiculous and vowing to end it. His rhetoric has resonated with some segments of the population, while alarming others. His administration has explored various legal avenues to challenge this constitutional right, including executive orders and potential Supreme Court cases, raising concerns among legal scholars and civil rights advocates. They argue that such actions could set a dangerous precedent. Opponents of birthright citizenship argue that it incentivizes illegal immigration, suggesting that it acts as a magnet for undocumented immigrants. and creates a loophole for undocumented immigrants to gain a foothold in the country. They believe this undermines the integrity of the nation's borders. They often cite the phrase anchor babies, a term that has become a flashpoint in the immigration debate, a derogatory term used to describe children born in the U.S. to undocumented parents to justify their stance. This term is seen by many as offensive and dehumanizing. This rhetoric, however, dehumanizes children and families, reducing them to political pawns, and ignores the complex realities of immigration. The stories of these families are often far more nuanced and human than the political debate suggests. Proponents of birthright citizenship argue that it is a cornerstone of American democracy, a principle that ensures inclusivity and equality, ensuring that all persons born in the U.S. are granted equal protection under the law. This principle is seen as vital to maintaining the nation's democratic values. They argue that ending birthright citizenship would create a class of stateless individuals, people who belong nowhere, and undermine the very fabric of American society. The implications of such a move could be far-reaching and deeply damaging. The 14th Amendment was adopted after the Civil War specifically to guarantee citizenship to formerly enslaved people, a monumental step towards equality. And any attempt to weaken it is seen as an attack on the progress made towards racial equality. This amendment has been a beacon of hope for many marginalized communities. Trump's efforts to challenge birthright citizenship are part of a broader pattern of restricting immigration and demonizing immigrants. His policies have been criticized for their harshness and lack of compassion. His policies have created a climate of fear and uncertainty for immigrant communities, making them feel unwelcome and unsafe in a country they call home. Making them feel unwelcome and unsafe. This atmosphere of hostility has far-reaching consequences for the social fabric of the nation. This assault on a fundamental constitutional right has profound implications for the future of American democracy, challenging the very principles upon which the nation was founded, and the very definition of what it means to be an American. The debate over birthright citizenship is not just a legal issue but a moral and ethical one that will shape the nation's identity for generations to come.